reluctant to do so, Ryan is preparing for some one-on-one time with the potential spirits in the tunnel. As we meet outside, I get made aware of another compelling EVP captured on the digital recorder, as well as something concerning regarding camera operator Tina. Okay, so let's come this way. All right.
Hello and welcome to the Today Show. I'm your host, Christopher Power, with your TV, Kojiko, Halton on the Disability Channel. Today we're joined by two very special guests from Ontario's most haunted paranormal investigators, Brandon and Ashley. So stay tuned. Welcome, Brandon and Ashley. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, man.
So now, am I using that term correctly, paranormal investigators?
Yeah. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. See,
So
I
walk us
like
through,
I like to
Go ahead,
I like
Brandon.
to usually differentiate between paranormal investigators and ghost hunters. I think there's like a huge difference between the two. So I'm glad you used that term.
So what is the big difference between you and Ashley's opinion on, ghost hunters, for example, versus paranormal investigator?
So the way I look at it is ghost hunters, I think, go to hunt for the ghosts, for the experiences. They go there just for the fun of it. The way I look at it is, paranormal investigators, we have a very slight bit of that in what we do, but what we want to do is we want to interview people who have had experiences in places. Once we get stories from them and we do our own little preliminary research, we then go into locations to actually investigate with equipment, try and debunk what they have told us in order to give a sense of truth behind their story. So let's say if they keep hearing knocks in the wall, we'll go over there and try and look at it. It could be wood sling, foundation, adjusting based off of the heat or whatnot. And then if we can't debunk it any further and we're still hearing these noises, then we can say, okay, these people's claims are actually true. They're actually real. And then we also have equipment that also we use that back up what we are finding as well. So investigators, we legitimately investigate and dissect. Hunters, they just go in for the fit.
So the cost of a proton pack has nothing to do with it then?
No, absolutely not.
So it sounds like it's a bit of a home inspection, if you will, learning about the homes and the creaks and the bumps that a house would make versus what people feel is an entity. Am I using that correctly?
Yeah.
So how do you choose
are.
when you look at your equipment that you have versus a house settling or air in the pipes, for example, and someone saying, oh, there's something here. When we talk about that equipment that you go in with, walk me through what some of these equipment pieces are.
So some of the equipment pieces that we have is a thermal gun. So we'll go around measuring the temperature of each room, and that can give off, if there's AC in one room and not the other, it'll have a different reading. We like to make sure that nothing is going on. So there's no heat on, there's no air on to give that different reading. So it's just more of an air throughout the whole house or business or wherever we're investigating. And then we also have a piece of equipment called a K2 meter. So what that does is it gives off, or it reads electromagnetic energy. So if you put it next to like wires, it'll go off because that's a type of energy. So if we're using that and people are like, oh, it's coming from the wall, we'll put it up to the wall. And if it goes off, it's probably just your wiring. Doesn't mean that there's something living in your walls that's not living, but it could be a different thing. So there's a bunch of different things that we have to do in order to kind of, what's the best word, to see what is
Debunk.
actually going on versus what's not going on. Yes, debunk. And that's something that we'll do. And we've done that before in a few businesses that we've been to, where it was, like this is going on, and we'll have it somewhere and it just starts going off randomly, but we'll figure out, oh, it's next to the printer that's giving off some energy there. We'll put it beside. Okay, yeah, no, that's why we're getting those readings there.
So when you talk about this meter giving off different types of energy, and you're next to a printer or a cell phone or something like this, now, I mean, ghost hunting and paranormal investigation, we've all seen different types of shows. Some are very entertaining to watch. Some are, oh yeah, great, I see what you did there. And then we have your show.
Yeah.
And your show seems to be a little bit more, I'm going to use the word raw and truth to it. I had the opportunity to watch some of your stuff. It didn't seem like there was steady cameras running around through forests saying the ghost is chasing me, or the cold is coming off. When we look at separating Ontario's Most Haunted from ghost hunters, paranormal activity, things like that, outside of that raw piece, what is the biggest difference you find between yourselves as investigators versus everyone who's come before you, type of thing?
I'll let Brandon answer this because I know he'll have a good one.
Yeah, so I think the biggest difference is, especially when you're looking at it from a TV aspect or from people on YouTube or whatnot. One, on TV, you have the struggle of ratings. You got to make show as entertaining as, and if that means that you have to be flamboyant with your reactions and you got to be over the top and this and that, then that's what's going to sell on TV. They also have budget. We don't. We're a very low budget. I don't want to say production.
We pay out of
we're a
pocket
very
for
low
things.
budget team. Yeah. And as for YouTubers, they go on there for the views. They go on there for the clickbait. They go on there to try and end up getting as much attention so they can end up getting monetized on YouTube. Now, I'm not saying all YouTubers are like that. I know of a couple that are actually legitimate in what they do. But the vast majority of them are doing it for the wrong reasons. We do it because we actually have a passion for it. And we want to educate people to say this stuff actually does happen. And we don't hide what it is that we don't find, and we don't hide what we do find. Everything is what you see is what you get with us. So we know we got the passion for it. We treat it as a big, long science experiment that we're going to be doing for the rest of our lives. And it's, I think that's really what separates us. As you said, we're very real with what we do. Low budget affair, no budget affair for that matter.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest distinguishing factor for what we do and how we present ourselves.
So it looks like what we're talking about is drive and passion and ambition for truth, almost, as opposed to a rating or a sponsor who says, hey, Ashley, Brandon, that was great. Could you scream a little louder? We need it to seem like something that it's not.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, most definitely. And now I'm not going to say we're going to go into situations where we're not going to freak out. There will be those times. And as you'll see later on with our most recent episode we did in Niagara Falls at the Screaming Tom, definitely had one of those instances. And a couple of times actually. So I'm not saying we're not going to freak out, but we are going to be getting our raw emotions in that moment when something is going on that we were not expecting to have happen. So
So your show is primarily on YouTube, is that right?
Yeah.
Do you guys have any ambition to try to talk with networks to kind of get what you do to the forefront and say, hey, you know, we're more raw and realistic and truth seekers than we are necessarily entertainment value and clickbait and subscribers?
I'll let you take this one, Ashley. I talk too much.
No, it's all yours.
All right. So basically, yeah, we do have that ambition. The only thing I worry about is I that creative control, because this is our baby. You know, we want to have that notoriety. We want to end up putting ourselves out there further to show that this stuff happens more prominently to as many households as possible. But with you guys being in television, you understand there's requirements you got to meet, and people are going to want it done a certain. So I think that's the biggest gray area that we're going to trying to adjust. But also we understand that in order for us to get to that point, that's going to take a very long time. We have to build our credibility. So that's our biggest roadblock, but eventually we will end up getting there.
Awesome. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Awesome.
All about inclusion and really giving everyone a fair say.
Welcome to the Today Show. This is our flagship show. I am Unstoppable Tracy.
I am Zach Damon.
It is a pleasure to be here. I am excited. What is up?
We have a great show today.
Jay Stoyan here for the Disability Channel, the world's only inclusive channel for and by persons with disabilities.
Get ready to be inspired, everyone.
We have people watching from all over the world, but also all over Ontario.
We also take a concerted attention in the veterans community.
In moments of stress and trauma, we can get a hold of ourselves.
To help make a difference for people with disabilities, to show people how to love themselves or their disability.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me, giving this platform for myself and other people with disabilities.
Thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this episode of the Disability Channel Detroit. Please tune in next time.
Welcome back to the Today Show. I'm your host, Christopher Power. We're joined today by two paranormal investigators that will help you find out what's making that sound and bump it tonight. So we were talking about the ambition to grow the channel. Of course, you don't want to lose the creative control of the outlet. When we talk about the different research and when we talk about the different projects and the areas that you want to go, how do you determine that, hey, that's the one that we're going to go to next, or that's the one that we've got to find out?
So we do a bunch of, like me and Brandon will get together, we'll do a bunch of preliminary research on a place. We look into the claims, we try and go to anyone who has come forward with those claims to see what their stories are. We talk to the business or the household to see what's actually happening, if other people are like hearing anything or seeing anything happen, and having not the same story, but something similar to the other person who came forward with the original claim. It's not just one person, it's multiple people. There could be something here. Let's look into the history of the building, the house, so we see how far back it goes. Even if it's recent, like we'll go back as far as we can to see what's going on. Is there a history to the house? Is there a history to the business? And then we'll try and contact the person. We'll reach out and be like, hey, we heard about a bunch of names coming from your establishment, your home, whatever the case may be. It's okay if we can talk to you about this and see if this is a possibility that you want to get into.
So it seems like you guys are a bit of amateur historians, amateur home inspectors, and professional paranormal investigators.
Yes. Yeah.
Licensed home inspectors, I must say, too. So
yes, unlicensed.
So when we talk about licensing, for an example, Brandon, you kind of mentioned it there. Do you need a license to do this? Are there programs that you can take for paranormal investigating? Like, how do you have your thermal reader and it says, okay, that's a pipe, but your K2 meter is going off and it says, well, there's no wiring here. That shouldn't be. How do you learn to read the equipment and use it?
So, that is a good question. And it's something that people really don't end up looking into before they end up coming into something like this. They did try to push for a licensing program a couple years ago. Didn't work out. It wasn't viable. Luckily for me, and I think we're kind of part of that trial. But it didn't end up panning out, obviously, and there's a lot of logistics involved, the reason why it wouldn't end up working out. But in and learning how to do this appropriately, there are surprisingly a lot of books on it, written by investigators who have done this for multiple years. There are articles that you end up reading online that help you educate yourself. There's PDF files you can download. There's so many outlets out there where you can end up educating yourself on how to be a true paranormal investigator, not just, as I say, somebody who's in and thinks they're a paranormal investigator and just go looking around and doing stuff that they should not be doing. So the resources are out there. It takes a little bit of digging. There's a couple books on Amazon that I'm buying as well. I don't know any of the people who, so I'm not going to plug their products, but
so when we talk about self-taught and we're going to the internet for how to use these things, how to read these things, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. What do you believe is the margin of error that says, I watched this clip or I've read this book and therefore I know how to use it, versus perhaps getting a reading wrong, or, with your monitor, you say, oh, that's the printer, but maybe I'm just reading it wrong because I'm learning from somebody who also didn't know how to do it from, I hate to use the word a professional paranormal investigator, but someone who has more experience or more electromagnetic experience than yourselves.
It's, in my opinion, and I don't know if Ashley can, branch off of this, it's knowing your equipment and how to use it and how to experiment with it different ways in order to differentiate between this happening versus that happening. And when we were getting started, we had members who didn't exactly know how to use some of the equipment, which really, I think, brought some of the investigative abilities down, or not be abilities, investigative capabilities that we had, kind of brought it down a little bit. So we realized, we can't just have people who think they know how to use equipment and then not know how to use it. Otherwise, we're going to end up getting false positives. They're not going to know how to differentiate between something that is wiring. Some people will see, oh, the thing's lighting up, something's going on. You see that sometimes on YouTube all the time. You have to learn how to experiment with what you have.
So knowing your equipment is kind of this key piece, knowing how it works, knowing the readings that happen, and that can avoid false positives. And of course, as you mentioned, you get out there and you start playing around with, no differently than a new phone, I would imagine. Hey, we have this new piece of tech. Let's figure this out. I mean, you get a new cell phone, you're figuring out how to get your emails again, how to import your contacts.
Exactly. It's just more of a trial and error, seeing what works, how it works, learning about it, like truly understanding the equipment that you're going to be using. and not just being like, hey, I have this, let's go do something. It's more of, no, like, let's read about it, let's learn about it, let's do all the research I can do so I can understand, and then let's go try.
It's a lot like when you're in school and they tell you know, you read in a textbook and then apply it to the real world. You can read all this stuff and documents using this stuff. But then how do you appropriately and experience and doing it yourself and all of teaching accurately how you end up using this equipment?
So I guess a question for you guys then, with the equipment that you have, you're doing the investigation. We did say a portion of some people ghost hunt. When we look at you're going out there and you're reaching out to a spirit, an entity, or a piece of energy, do you have any concern at all that maybe it follows you home, or it does something to you mentally or physically, that you say, hey, you know, I should probably stop messing around with this? Or, you know, have you ever run across anything like that?
Ashley?
Times. I constantly have stuff like attaching itself to me, either good or bad, and sometimes it will be home. The only way, like, to really differentiate what is like a good and bad thing is, most of the time it just disappears by itself. It'll stay for like a day, see if it's really worth sticking around for, and then it just pops right out. Or it's like, hey, this person's interesting, I'm gonna stick around a little longer, and it kind of just goes on like that. In the past, I have had really bad attachments where they stay for like a couple months to about a year, and it takes some work to get rid of them, and it takes a lot of hard work to be like, okay, this is not okay, you're not allowed to be here, you need to leave.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to see the trailer for your newest episode.
Hi, this is Dave Stevens with the Disability Channel.
An inability to break out. I'm sitting by the door on the second floor, losing my 7-year war. It's not an illusion, so why the exclusion?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's about you. So.
You say you're a disability dynamo.
Joining me, and welcome to this beautiful Travelers Championship.
I only want one accolade from you.
So my story is unique, it's amazing, but it's not anything that you guys don't have inside of you. I'm not a hero, I'm not anybody special. I'm just this guy without legs that went out, and I just did it.
Stats outweigh the Democrats, the diplomats, and the bureaucrats.
This is probably your first interview down on the ground on your butt and stuff like that?
First time ever,
All
baby.
right.
Eliminate and validate and validate and validate.
Stay with us and the Disability Channel.
Welcome back to the Today Show. I'm your host, Christopher Bauer. Joining us are two paranormal investigators who don't require proton packs. Here's the trailer for their newest episode, The Screaming Tunnels.
We're going to the Screaming Tunnel.
Yeah.
I keep getting this feeling through my body.
She says, I'm feeling pain, but also malevolence.
If you can pick on your little daughter, you can pick on me. I'm like,
I genuinely think this is satanic.
Oh, I just got like a big rush of cold air.
Something's going on in here, man.
Something just touched my neck.
Something touched your neck?
Oh my god! What the is going on? What the This just changed our whole f***ing plan.
Ready?
No.
When we talk about the screaming tunnels, and actually in one piece, I believe actually you motioned to the back of your neck, and you guys are running out. What was going on there?
So when we were in the tunnel, I had like a chain on my neck, and it's something that I wear kind of often. I felt a hand kind of just grab it, and then I felt someone take like their fingertip and kind of just run it along my hairline, and I kind of just freaked out. I jumped. Brandon jumped, told him what was happening, and he was like, "Yeah, we caught that on, like, we caught the sound of your chain getting played with on camera." And I was like, "Hey, that's cool, but that's also really freaky." Like, it was just not something I was expecting. Because as you've seen earlier in the video, I was getting really, really angry and really, really frustrated with whatever was in that tunnel, and I was just not expecting it to be like get physical with me. So I was just like, okay, that cool. Yep, that happened.
It's safe to say that there's a lot of stuff that actually happened that aren't expecting, period. I mean, you know, we went in knowing about the history and the legend behind the Screaming Tunnel, but what took place, investigation went on, really turned tables a little to something that we did not know anything about, had no knowledge about, and it felt like we were doing that, you know, we quite frankly weren't prepared for. And all that was taking place around the time when Ash was getting grabbed, and, you know, us running out, not because we were, just because it was intense.
It freaked us out,
and
not
so
gonna lie.
strong of what was happening. That it was absolutely ridiculous. We've never experienced anything like that before, but I'm glad we did.
Yeah,
I'm glad we did, because that next hour down the road in case come across something like this again.
and I actually called Brandon like not long after the investigation. I was like, okay, I want to go back. Like, I don't know what we missed, but I feel we missed something. I want to go back.
Now, the episode Screaming Tunnel is up for people to watch, or is it still in post, or what's going on with that show?
Nope, that's available on YouTube. It got released on the got released a couple weeks ago. Thank you.
It was
yes,
the 4th of July. Yeah.
So yeah, it's been up there since. You're able to end up checking it out. You go to YouTube and literally just type Most Haunted, first channel that will pop up. Not the first video, it'll be the first channel. It usually shows up in a little circle when you set up. And you go on that, and the episode is up there for you to watch anytime, any day.
So what's the next project that you're going to work on? I mean, I know you talked about going back to the Screaming Tunnels. Is there another place in Ontario that you guys have opened up your schedule and said, no, we're going here before we go back to the tunnels?
Not yet. I do still have one episode that's in post that I'm working on all the way in Amherstburg, Ontario, which is about as southwest of Ontario as you could probably end up getting.
It's literally like 20 minutes outside of Windsor.
Yeah, we're going right dates almost, and it's a very historic town, war town, and it was awesome because we got invited by the town to investigate their tourism department their tourism headquarters, and we didn't know any of the stories. Going to learn the stories on the spot while interviewing guests with them, because, you know, it gave us the ability to go in with a blind eye and really dig deep to figure out what's happening. And I think we were the first, if I'm not mistaken, actually, we were actually the first investigative team to actually go in there and do a genuine investigation.
I believe we did like a tour night for like amateur, like an amateur kind of night. But besides that, I do believe we were the first actual like filming crew to go in.
And it didn't disappoint. It
did not.
It did not disappoint whatsoever, and I can't give too much away about it, but there were things that we had to us in some aspects that actually exceeded what happened to us at the Screaming Tunnel. It was an incredible investigation with some pretty compelling evidence.
So it seems to be that a lot of these entities and energies are kind of going after Ashley. Brandon, do you feel there's a reason why the paranormal aren't coming after you?
Boy, I am very glad that you asked this question. Ashley is sick and tired of me talking about it, but that just makes me want to speak about it even more. So and to have a friend where you have to explain to them how their friend works. It's basically the way I like it, she is a conduit. And I get that term from the word conductor. So if you look at copper, you have to look at brass or whatnot. Electricity will run very smoothly through those items. And so when we are out there, everybody has energy. And the best that is if you ever stand next to me and you don't know the person you're standing next to, but you can tell something's a little iffy about them. You're feeding on, or you're getting their energy. You're feeling their feeling. Ashley has the ability to allow these spirits naturally to feed off of her energy or to strengthen their. She is a conductor for energy that these spirits can end up using. And I believe that is why, they go after her, not after her, but they are geared more towards her. More so than other people. And I said this before in the past interview we've done. We've seen that happen, and then we've had evidence to back it up as well. So that's the ability Ashley has. I'm glad to be on the outside watching this happen. I don't know if I'd be able to end up taking and her you know what, it just brings a whole larger integral part to the investigation, which is one of the big reasons I'm glad to have her on the team. She's a trooper when it comes to this stuff. She doesn't let it really faze her. Once in a while it gets intense, but she powers through it, and it allows us to end up gathering more evidence to what's going on and more proof that spiritual activity happens.
Wonderful. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Are you currently on ODSP? If you're interested in social media marketing, TV production, podcasting, or getting off assistance, please contact Jay Stoyan at 647-339-6847 or Jay at thedisabilitychannel.ca. The Disability Channel, showcasing abilities.
Welcome back to the Today Show. I'm your host, Christopher Power, and joined by our paranormal investigators, Brandon and Ashley. So Brandon and Ashley, where can we learn more about you? Do you guys have a website outside of the YouTube channel?
We do, and we also actually have a Twitter page, which people can go on and follow us, and we post as many updates on there as we can. But our website is ontariosmosthaunted.ca, and we also have our merch store link in our website.
So I'm assuming you're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all that stuff underneath the same
We're
handle.
also on Facebook. We put quite a few updates on Facebook. We have some Facebook exclusive videos on there, but we don't have Instagram right now. Our Instagram actually got hacked about a month ago. So we're in the process of kind of rebuilding our page and getting that back out there.
I have time for one more question for the both of you. What makes you guys smile?
This is a PG
he's
show,
like my
right?
brother, so I pick on him daily. So it's the banter between me and Brandon is always entertaining, especially if people like listen to our podcast. Because I just go off on him, he goes off on me. But yeah, no, he's like my brother.
Yeah.
So he no matter how I'm feeling on any given day, he will never fail to make me smile, and I hope it's the same for him, because the words that come out of my mouth sometimes are a little
you know, I'm the kind of person where, you know, life is too short to be miserable all the time. Life is too short to find something funny in the smallest of things. Like I swear, you know, if I or sometimes when I do interviews, see if other people on the other side of my wall are actually listening. So I swear, if I knock on this wall, right, get a response, I may not, but it's just to have a little bit of fun. It's just little antics like that, things that like to make me laugh. I like to end up doing. I like making light of myself. I know myself well enough where I can make jokes, but I also like make other people laugh, and seeing other people laugh make me laugh. Looking at Ashley with the I'm not going to go into nothing about it, but no, I mean, life's too short to be miserable. You gotta have a laugh at everything. You gotta have to find the positive. You gotta find the optimism and the humor in everything you end up in life. Even when the times get tough, if you come up with a sarcastic to end up, you know, responding to something that happened and it makes you chuckle a little bit later, that you don't know how much that actually is a stress reliever. And it's just having fun with life. You're here too short of time. You know, you got to make the most of it. You got to be optimistic. You got to have positivity in your life, even when the times get tough. Because if you don't, you're not going to make it through those times. That's the way I look at it. So.
Fair enough. I appreciate that. Well, I really appreciate my two favorite paranormal investigators being on our show today. If you guys want to learn more information, please head over to ontariosmosthaunted.ca. Check out their YouTube channel and their Twitter account. And if you're afraid of the monsters under your bed or what goes bump in the night, make sure you hit their contact page so they can come out and investigate. I'm your host, Christopher Power. This has been The Today Show. Remember to have a fantastic day and smile to inspire.